Hey guys, this is Chodaros, and we have another great design by the wonderful MsLoom, and it is a 7-pin bar setup, I believe, but it just incorporates in the original design here, beads up the center, but as always you can use your imagination and you do not have to put anything up the center. You can leave it blank, or you can put some type of a wrapped band, cap band, triple, quadruple looped cap band there, whichever you prefer. Be creative with your bands, and you can still make something just different that's going to give it a little bit of a twist in the center. And you can also put seed beads on the border bands or whatnot. So I used, I believe, it'll be in the description box, but I believe these are ceramic beads, and they're 8mm. Do not go any higher than 8mm. This is already one-sided, okay, because here is the back, which the back is almost identical to the front, with the exception of it has this line. Let me pull some beads through to show you. You see that line right there? That's how you know it's the back. Okay, now these other beads, I didn't have enough. You'll need about 23 beads, I believe, because it's every peg we're going to put one. But these round beads, these are actually like oval, and that's what makes them stick up. So for this, there's a good example to show you. You can still use 8mm beads, but if they are a different shape, they're going to give you a different look. So if this is not a look that you're liking, make sure that all your beads are the same size. So again, these are round and these are oval. So the ovals are sticking up higher than the round, but I like it. This is 2 looms in length. I mean, literally, we went right to the end of the loom, and it's just a little big, but nothing. But if you really want it to fit, I would maybe knock it down three pegs down, maybe. That would probably be good. But otherwise, it's super easy and it's fun. Your beaded bands, like I said, I think it's 23 I used. We'll count, but the great thing again about this bracelet, and another one that we had just done, is you can use clear bands to bead them, the bands, and using clear is the best band to use when you are putting beads on bands, because it's stretchy and they go on well and they're hidden. And the only other thing I need to tell you is we do make a single chain that we have to loop over our bands, or over our beads. So just make sure that whatever band you use in the center, I used the glitter pink, that it is a stretchier elastic band, like a glitter or metallic, but something that has a little bit more elasticity to it. Alrighty, so let's get started. Alright, so this is our loom setup. First, last pegs, same length. Go up 1 peg, get your next 2, and then go back down to the same height as your first and last, and that is your middle 3. And I'm going to do mine in 2 looms in length today, so hopefully we'll see if that does the trick on fitting around our wrist. So the first thing we're going to do is just lay the first row, okay, and then we're going to lay our design and then the perimeter. So as you all know, I cheat and I do the tutorial and then I go back and do my intro, so I don't have the bracelet yet. But I do have this little rendition I showed earlier, and I was thinking of trying to do some type of a basket weave because it kind of reminded me of it, but my colors are too close together. I'm not very good at different colors. And also, these are 6mm beads, so if you really want them to be tucked down, that's a good size to use. But what we're going to do is we're going to lay the bands that wrap around the sides here, and I just want to make sure that you guys understand how we're going to do that. A lot of people, I know for me as a fact, I'm big on, I want to know what my colors need to be and which way to place them. So let's just start out by placing our close-up band, and then these are the, oh my gosh, I haven't used these in so long. What are these, Egyptian purple? So I'm just going to do my first row like this, in this color. And then I'll just fix them because they're going to be crooked. Okay, so after we have that part done, the next part is where we're going to start laying our pattern. Okay, so what we laid, we just laid this row here. Okay, so you can see your perimeter, that's going to be your perimeter color. So there is a, see if you can see it on this side. It's this band, and then there's a chain right there. Okay, and they all get loomed together. So it's basically all this outside's right there. If that makes any sense. So I want my wrap bands to be royal purple or deep lilac or whatever those are. And I want my inner band to be glitter white. Okay, so we're just going to put a band going forward first, and then doesn't matter what side you put next, but whatever you do first, like I'm going to do the outside, then the inside, like that. I want to do that all the way up, okay? If not, you can kind of see that they're crooked. One's looped and the other one's not. Okay, so it's just an arrow, that's it. But you just have to make sure that once you make the finished arrow part, that's when you put your next band going forward. Okay? Then I'm always starting out from the right and then the left. So that's pretty basic pattern, not too hard to remember. Okay? And then we do the same thing on this side. Always want to start with your band going forward and then complete your arrow. Okay? And then once it's complete, then we go again with our band forward and then 2 bands out. Now, you see, I didn't do it the same. Did I? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I did. I put the outside on first. I was never big on being consistent with which way, but once it was being told to me in others' tutorials, I figured, yeah, they're right. All right, so we got the picture on this. And don't close it up yet. I'm going to show you, get near, go like maybe 2 pegs down, and then I'm going to show you how to close it up at the end. All right, so I stopped mine. We need to stop it at the second to the last row. So then we have this complete last row open, and then we're going to place our perimeter. So whatever color, which I just changed mine. Mine's going to be metallic, silver or gray or whatever it is. And just place those going all the way up to the last pin. So we're going past the arrow. Okay, so once you're done placing all of these, then we go back. Oops. Okay, so you have a band, you know, still going forward, and then you have a band that's placed on the last peg. So once it's on the last peg, that's when we're going to go ahead and just take it in and just we basically always do the same close as we do beginning, just in the opposite direction. So once you take it into your arrow, and then you want to take it out. And then in to the center. Like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish up our perimeters, and then we'll go ahead and lay our next set of bands. Okay, so we have our perimeter all the way up to the end, and let's do 2 steps at once, because the first step is just 2 single chains going up the 3rd and 5th pin bar, which we know how to do, and then the second step is adding these horizontal bands. So the bands that are going to go up as your vertical or your single chain, they're pretty well hidden because we loop them not straight, we loop them to the side. So mine are in the glitter blue, so you can see them a tad, like maybe right there. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my purple, or my metallic gray again. We'll get a few of these on here, and then I'll go ahead and show you the next step. And that way, when we come back, we have like 2 more steps, and then we can loom it. I have other gray metallic bands, excuse me, that were sent to me to try, and they're mixed in with my metallics. So if you see me like, ooh, that's not a good band, that's why. It's a good band, but metallics I'm using for a purpose. See, like, they're not as elastic as these. Okay, so once we get that started there, you're going to take the next color or band that we're going to place are going to be these cross bands, like I did mine in purple. Okay, so you're going to be able to see that, and then we're going to place, not to get ahead of myself, but we're going to place a single chain up the center. So that center band is what you see here. The next band, which is that purple, that's what the band is going to be now. So just so you know, I'm going to use these Egyptians that I thought I was going to use in the beginning. So whichever side that you start on is the side that you continue with. So I'm starting on my left, and then I'm placing the right. So left, right. Super easy. Putting bands across that center peg all the way up. So we don't need to do the last row, and we don't need to do the first, because we have our perimeter bands already on there. Okay, so first step, going up the 3rd and 5th pin bar with a single chain, and then the second step, coming back down and then laying these horizontal bands going left and right. So let's get that done, and then we will come back to our next 2 steps. Okay, this is what you should have so far. So we only have 2 simple steps left, and then we will be ready to loom. So you want to make sure that all of your bands are pressed down, pushed down everywhere. But our next step is to add just a simple single chain going up the center of the bracelet. And MsLoom suggests making sure that it is a metallic or a stretchy band. So I'm going to hurry up and place that, so that way I can show you the next step, and we can do it all in one. All right, so we have our single chain laid all the way to the top. And this is the time, after you have that completed, that we are going to add our bling bands. Okay, so again, 8mm bead. You can do 6. 6 will be a little bit tucked in. Sorry, I want to get some done. But definitely, I didn't use clear bands. I actually had beads already on bands, so that's why I just used those. And I used white band. They were on white bands. So you can see, if you want to, if you prefer that, that's the back. But in the front, you can't see it. But I do have mine done on clear bands, and again, they are just a ceramic 8mm bead, and I didn't have enough of both, so I'm going to alternate them. And this one almost looks like this bead wrapped, so you'll need, I think it's about 23, but you got to make sure it's on a, you know, if we're able to use a clear band, that's what you want. So you just want to place that on second pin bar, second pin up, fourth pin bar, fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sixth pin bar, second pin up. Okay, every peg from here on up, that's what we're going to do, is place our bling bands going that way. So you can see in between you have that nice hole opening, and that's what lets our bead sit in there nicely. And then when we go to loom, we'll be looming up that center chain, and that's what the band is. It's going to wrap around your bead. So again, just some before the product hints in case you really want to make sure your colors are squared away. Okay, so again, first is your single chain going all the way up, and then start on those second pegs there and stretch your bead band going across like that. Going to do that all the way up. You want to skip the first row and you want to skip the last row, okay? Because they're so close to the clasp, just leave the first and last rows blank. Then after we are done with that, we are going to start the looping. Alrighty, we are ready for looping. So let's add a cap band to that center peg. Excuse me. And so the first thing we're going to do is loom up the center chain in the middle here. And that is going to wrap around our beads. You know, it's not going to wrap the full way around, but as long as your bead is in the center and not over here, then you're good to go. So just pulling up the center chain, and if you have 8mm beads as I do, just have to get your hook in there. Might be a little bit of a challenge to grab that band. Okay. So let's finish up the center chain. We'll come back and start our next step. Right, so we have all of that pressed down. We're going to loom out these horizontal bands. So whichever one is on top, we can all start here at the bottom, and we can loom out the perimeter there. So my right one is on top, so that's the one I'm going to grab first. Just bring it on over, and then the other side. Okay, so we know that's done. And so we do the same thing, always just picking whichever one is on top. Okay, if it should so happen to be different and you didn't place all of your bands the same way, just remember always the one on top. And you'll always know because it will create the teardrop, and you see it's not pulling on anything but that center chain. And we will not be touching the bling bands. The whole bracelet will be loomed around. See, what did I do? I grabbed the wrong one. So you see what it does? It doesn't make that teardrop because it's holding on to the other one. That's the right one. So that also helps open up that space for your bead. So as I told you in the step before, that as long as your bead is in the center, it doesn't have to be perfect, because now we're opening it up. Okay, so let's finish that one up and then we will move on to the next step. Okie dokie, we have all of those bands loomed out. We want to make sure that they're all pressed down. So our next step is going to be on the 3rd and 5th pin bar, and we're going to take that center chain and we're going to loom it out to the right. I want to make sure I'm on the right one. Yes, it's the ones next to the bead. Sorry about that. Okay, so we want to go into this peg here, make sure we have that band, and then it's simply, that's where we came from, but we're going to finish it off on the side peg. Okay, so reach down, instead of going forward, we go to the left. And there is one band left underneath it, so that's not the last band on that pin bar. Okay, simple enough. I've done this one a few times. Okay, this is the band I was telling you that it's not too visible in the bracelet. Okay, so then we want to do this side here. See that band, I was looking at it, I'm thinking that shouldn't be, that band's on top. Okay, so we only have one band on top, and then we have that first to grab. So we're grabbing it and going to the right. And then on the rest of the pegs, we have 2 bands before it. So this is another place where it's going to act as a holding band for our beaded bands, because it's going right on top of it right now. Oops. I grabbed 2 bands. All right, let's finish that all the way up our loom and then press them down, and then we'll meet back. All right, so we have 2 more steps left and then we will be done. So the next step is just to loom out the perimeter bands. But before we do so, we want to come into these pegs here and loom the rest of the front out. So we just loom that bottom one over, and now I'll do this side too. So it's a little bit not tricky, but we got to remember the way we laid our bands. Our border band is not the last band on the this peg right here. Underneath it, you have 2 bands. You have the band that's going to the left, and then underneath that, you have the band that's going forward. So you are only going underneath 3 bands, and then you'll see that border band. So don't be alarmed. It's just non-traditional. Okay, so we want to make sure that we do that one correctly. And you'll know you have it as long as it makes a perfect teardrop and you're not grabbing onto any other bands. Now, again, we placed excuse me, these other bands first, and then we placed our perimeter. So you're not grabbing the last band, you're grabbing the second to the last. So don't be alarmed. Our last step, we'll grab that band and pull it all together. So, traditionally, yikes, it's like, is that like 2 bands? Why do I have 2 bands? Did I double band that? I sure did. I have 2 bands on there. So I want to take one off. So, oh! There you go. All right, there's a good trick if you don't know. Take it up underneath. under the purple one. And then it goes on the peg. And then we go inside the cup and then pull it up and over. Oh. Alright, so then we just continue just grabbing our top border band. Okay, then as usual, the same on this side. Okay, all the way up until you get to the last peg, and then we just stop there. And then we will have our last step. So you do want to make sure that you're pressing all of these down because we do have a band underneath to loom up after. Sorry guys, change the scenery for our last step. So our last one is going to include the arrow that we made. So we have 3 bands to loom in one pattern repeat. So as we laid our bands, remember we laid the straight one and then we laid our arrows. And then after we laid those 2 diagonal, we were able to do the straight. So now we do the opposite. We're going to loom in to this center peg, the arrow bands, and then bring everything forward. So I'm going to start out on this peg here and grab the inner arrow first, put it back to itself, and then go to the outer pin bar and grab this one and bring it back to itself. Okay? Once you have both out or loomed back in, then you go down, and the last band that is going to hold our bracelet together will be the band that goes forward. So now we have all of that grouped together. So we do the same and grab the right side and then the left side, and then we're able to pull everything forward. So you just make sure that the band that we're pulling forward should be the last band on that peg. So it's not hard. I screwed up right there on my perimeter. It's probably not going to be noticeable, but still. So we'll do one more over here, start the other side, and then we can see what it looks like off the loom. And then remember, what I always do is take it and turn it. You see how there's no bands down there? As long as you don't see any bands, you're in the clear. If you see any bands and you still have pegs to loom, you can stick it on a peg somewhere. It may not look perfect, but at least it will save your bracelet. So again, here's our arrows are facing towards us, so the point. So we want to go on the inner peg first, back to itself, and then the outer in, and then grabbing the bottom band, which should be the band going forward. That closes it all up. So inner band first, and then the right. Close it up by bringing it forward. Okay, that is it, and that's going to conclude the looping. All right, so we'll continue that all the way up, and then we'll pull it off our loom. I don't think there's anything difficult about this end. It's just a typical, when we're done looming up the straight band, then we want to come over to our corners and then loom in, center, and then loom in, center. Then we can close up our bracelet and take it off our loom, and then we'll be back to look at the final result. All right, so this is my rendition off of the loom, straight off the loom. Okay, so this side was facing down if I'm not mistaken. And the reason I'm trying to think, yeah, this line of bands here, that's the back of the bracelet. Okay, so just push your beads through the hole, and then if your beads are small enough, you'll be able to have them on both sides. If they're larger, like these are 8mm, and the glass faucet ones, these ones here, they're oval and they're larger, so they'll stick up further than my round ceramic ones. But that's how we do that. Just push them all through. And now this side has your side bands we looped, and you can better see the wrap bands that are around your bead. And because mine are different sizes, you can see that they will stick up like that, which is no biggie to me. It still looks nice, and this is great because I used the Egyptian purple bands in here, and I didn't even have to turn them. This is like the first bracelet I've made in the longest time that I didn't have to unravel bands, untwist bands. So, big thanks to MsLoom for another great design. Super easy, super fun, and really pretty bracelets. We want to make sure that we do let her know we are appreciative of all of her fine work she sends our way. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.